What's going on, guys? Welcome to another video, and in this video I'm going to show you how to install the F10 M5 shift knob into my E92 M3. So as you guys probably heard me say, I'm not really super happy with the stock shifter in my E92 M3. I think it's a little tall, and in particular the 1 to 2 is a little notchy, so the taller shifter makes it that much more difficult and less precise. So I picked up the F10 M5 shift knob, which the reason I did that is because it's illuminated just like the one in my car. You're able to buy the ones that are not illuminated, which are a little bit cheaper, but I hate to kind of go back a step, so I did have an illuminated one. I would hate to get a shorter and maybe, you know, a little bit more precise one that's not. So I wanted it also illuminated, so that's the reason I spent a little more money. I did get it from ECS. Put the email in the description of the video, and you can shoot him questions directly. So he's fine. I said, if you have a flood of questions, don't be mad at me. I'm warning you ahead of time. So he said that is more than perfectly fine. That's his job. He's there to help everyone that has any questions. So, but he does not advise. He doesn't have any information or recommendations necessarily regarding replacing the M5 for the M3. So that is what this video is for. So here's my shift knob. As you guys already know, I mean, it's tall and it's really not the best. So I'm going to be taking this out and replacing the whole knob and boot assembly. All right, so first step in taking this off is, it's really simple. It's just like a circular plastic piece underneath here, and the key is just to push it. This is my first time taking it off, and actually that came off very easily. So that's it. There's this circular piece which you will need for the new one because the M5 is not the same, and I'll go into that in a second. Second step, I'm going to unplug the light. There we go. And then I think you just lift up. Jesus. Oh! That's why you unplug it first. That took a while. Alright, so, whoops. Ugh. So my advice on pulling this, which I pulled it literally with all my might, almost threw my back out pulling this stupid thing out. I'm in the passenger seat, but if you were in the driver's seat, you'd put it in second. If your passenger, put it in sixth, and just pull towards you. My mistake is I was leaning forward and pulling up. So definitely just pull towards you and use more of your body weight and have gravity help you. So we're gonna take this thing inside. Alright guys, so as you can see, we've got both shifters here. Obviously this is the older one, and this is the F10 M5. Both are illuminated, but I do want to point out something. I have started to make some progress on removing this circular piece here. This plastic ring is not the same on the F10 as it is on the E92 M3. So what you need to do is pretty much take this plastic piece off of the old one and put it on the new one. The stock E92 M3 has glue, which requires you to, which is requiring me at least, to use sort of a, you know, X-Acto knife and razor blade and separate to the best of my abilities. And really, I know I was thinking about just honestly just cutting it and leaving the leather on there, but I know that it's a really tight fit. So any extra material right here is probably not ideal. So I might shave that down a little later. I know it looks really bad right now, but this is just the part that folds over. So I don't, in my opinion, it's really not a big deal. I was sort of just angling it and just cutting towards the plastic piece. That way you don't stab into the leather. I don't know if someone would want this stock shifter after I do this. I mean, I can't really reuse it. If I were to put it back to stock, it'd be kind of a pain in the ass, so I don't think I'll really do that whenever I sell the car in the future. So if someone does want this stock boot without this ring, or maybe if they want the F10 ring, I don't think that would be helpful, but I can sell it, and then maybe there's a way to buy the ring. I have no idea. or maybe you have some other ideas for it, or maybe you just want the leather. I have no idea, but okay guys, just checking in with you. I've removed both of the brackets, F10 M5 bracket here, E92 M3 bracket here with the shifters. And one thing I was thinking about is, actually I was wrong, there is some glue on the M5 new shifter, but it was much easier. It was really held on by a little bit of glue, but mostly these staples, which were easy to pry off, they really weren't that bad. Just use some needle nose pliers here. So that wasn't bad. And before you put, really what we need to do is just put this on this. Make sure it's facing the right way. I did look at the pictures just to make sure I didn't put it on, you know, backwards or something like that. But both of them have the sticker towards the front of the car. And as you can see, these are actually shaped pretty differently. So just keep that in mind that, you know, obviously this is the top of the shifter, and then it's kind of going to go right there. So let's see how good of a job I can do at start wrapping this around and then taping and securing it. Alright guys, checking in with you. You'll get my view right now. And the next step is I secured the bracket for the M3 with just some binder clips. It just seemed to make the most sense. And there's a few pictures on the forums of guys doing something really similar. So I just wanted to get a feel for, you know, how it's gonna fit, how much slack I have, and sort of imagining, you know, positioning the knob sort of, you know, where I kind of assume it's gonna sit. As you can see, there's a little extra there, but I think it's gonna sit kind of right around here. If it's a little taller, that I have enough space, I, you know, can sort of pretend to shift. I'd love to test fit it, but it just doesn't seem like that's gonna happen, you know, because it's gonna move around as soon as I take these off to try to test fit it. So we're just gonna have to go with pictures in the forums. And I looked at pictures that I took. I would recommend taking pictures of your own shifter before you do anything to it. That way you can keep going back and sort of making sure it looks similar. This little corner is the only area that I sort of not really concerned about, but it's going to be kind of a little more to play with. But I think we got it. I don't want to put too much slack here, and this is as much slack as I am kind of removing. And if there's anything messed up here, you're going to see it more than if it's messed up here. So I'm going to start here. It's going to be the tightest turn, the most material that you're going to have to stretch and cut. What I'm going to do is put glue just kind of here. See how there's a little extra thing? I'm gonna have to do some cutting and trimming just so, you know, when it fits in, you'll never see it as long as I do it right. But that's kind of the plan right now. And I will say I did want to get Gorilla Glue, but I was at Ace and one of the reps, very knowledgeable, I told him what I was doing leather to plastic, and he recommended this stuff. So I can't imagine that this would be any worse. I can only imagine it'd be better than Gorilla Glue because it's meant for this. And it knows it's not going to seep into the pores of stuff like Gorilla Glue is meant to do. So this should be a little bit better. So I'm going to try to kind of start here, get this kind of glued, and then I'm going to kind of try to work my way around. Any sort of extra little lip area, I might kind of tighten this a little bit. But otherwise it's kind of going to be, you know, this way, and I'm going to have to just bank on the fact I trust myself, just judging from pictures online. So I'm really not removing much slack, as you can see. So let's go ahead and start the gluing process. Alright guys, just a quick update for you, if my camera would focus. The corners of this thing are probably one of the most challenging. As you can see, I put 3 around here, and it has the stitching, which is thicker than the E92 stitching, so it's a little bit more to sort of shove in there. And I put napkins there, that way the clips won't like scratch or anything, just the edges. But we're really looking good here. Man, I am so excited to get this thing in here. But as you can also see, I trimmed it just kind of along the edges, and then I wrapped the wrapped the leather around those tabs. If this stupid camera would focus. Alright, got it to focus. So as you can see, I wrapped the leather around the tabs, and then I just kind of trimmed it along the edge. I think this I can sort of work a little bit more. Ideally what's nice about these is you can literally just kind of put them on there, and then it sort of makes the leather form into the shape of this bracket here. So it's really helpful, and I definitely recommend just buying 15 of these things. I could use it a little smaller ones around these edges. I wish I would have bought a pack of small ones, just because the corners, I can't get 2 of them in this corner very well, for example. Alright guys, finally got this thing done, and boy, that was definitely worth it, and it's not even in the car. It looks extremely clean. A couple of the little corners here I will show you. So here's the corner. As you can see, this is a little close as far as if you can see it from the top, but you cannot. And same thing kind of around here. Obviously it gets a little crinkly. This could be pressed in a little bit more, to be honest with you guys, but the glue is already there, so it's hard for me to really mess with it. That's kind of the gist of it. And then this, I know there's a big kind of chunk taken, but you're not going to be able to see that, once it's in there. It should be just fine, unless I really jacked it up. But tucked these right around here, and then kind of just go along here. The stitching really was difficult, and when I put it in, I'm probably just going to have to press it a little bit with my fingers. We'll see what happens. So hopefully I did a good job. I am extremely excited. Hopefully I left enough slack here. I barely cut off. This was the excess to make it even, so it was, 1/4 of an inch maybe, if that. So, all right, let's go out to the M3 and do a little test. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug this in. Right. All right, guys, so I would say job well done. Let's get this camera to focus. So as you can see, there's a little bit of slack underneath. This main piece fits pretty well. I think it fits just fine. This, for some reason, has a little extra, like it's kind of protruding just because this leather is a little thicker, and I think over time it sort of might, I guess fit a little bit better. I don't really know if that's the case or not, but as you can see, it fits fine. I'm going to go into all the gears. There is a little bit of slack either way. It's not preventing it from going into any gear. See, and there's slack there. We'll go into 5th real quick, which, come on, reverse. There you go. It does feel better. Like the 1st to 2nd in this car is always like kind of notchy and not very direct. It kind of seems to slam into gear a little bit easier. I don't know if it's because we're pressing in a different area, a different angle, because this is shorter. It does look a lot shorter to me right off the bat. So I'm going to be driving this car to work tomorrow. I'll have to, do a test run, and I would think that, it looks like there's enough slack there. I don't think we're going to have any issues. This was a great project. pretty simple, although it does take time. I mean, definitely assume that you're gonna spend a few hours doing this, but I'm really excited. Oh, and I really should show you the illumination. Oh yeah, there you go. So obviously this thing, well, there's light reflecting from outside, but it illuminates the exact same color as everything else BMW in here. It is from the M5, so obviously that's why. But it's, you know, perfectly bright. Come on, man. There we go. It's really clean. I mean, it's an OEM piece, so that makes sense. But yeah, so there you go. You get to see that it does work. I assumed it would work before I plugged it in, so I took that little risk. But alright guys, so that's how it's done. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope this was helpful, because this is something that there's a lot of write-ups and a lot of pictures and information and typed out responses online, but I haven't found any like full video of start to finish and the process and then the details and a few tips along the way. So hopefully this was helpful. If you're gonna do this, I would definitely recommend doing it. If you're hands-on at all, you can definitely handle it, but you have to be patient. Think of it as kind of either detailing or wrapping a car. It takes you a long time, but you have to enjoy the process of doing it in order to do it right. You know, the whole prep and the process and removing the old one. Don't be thinking it's only going to take 45 minutes. It's going to take you longer than that, but it definitely is worth it. Hit up ECS Tuning, as I mentioned. That is where I got this OEM shift knob with the boot connected to it, and it works perfectly fine from what I can see, so we'll drive around. The shorter shift knob, this thing just looks so proper. It's like one of the things I should have done right off the bat, just because it's something you use every time you drive the car. So with that said, thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment below. If I did forget anything, I will leave as many details in the description as I can as far as the products and all that stuff, and I will see you guys next time.